Hello, everyone. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. Sorry for the delay, but we were attacked here at the Howard Dare Studios by Islamists and feminist terrorists. And they were just screaming, Allah Akbar, and we hate you, Howard Dare. And they trashed the place. They messed with my computer. And they were attacking me online as well, you know. So if there's, you know, like there were some serious problems right before getting started with this podcast. You know, it was like a full-blown cyber attack here at the Howard Dare Studios. And yeah, got a, you know, lot to talk about. Want to talk about the social justice warrior, crazy feminist Nazi bitch that was on Tucker Carlson the other day. This is really the podcast that I wanted to do last night. But again, I was attacked by Islamist, feminist, you know, cyber terrorists. And it was horrible, man. You know, some of you might have been here and you might have heard what happened, you know, but there was screaming and you couldn't hear anything and it was all muffled and it was horrible and it was all recorded, you know. It was recorded and I had to delete it. I need to check if you guys can hear my audio. Now I want to tell you about what happened last night, and I also want to, you know, do a reaction to that feminist Nazi bitch on the Tucker Carlson show. And I want to talk about some other MGTOW related stuff. Okay, good. You guys can hear me. So, yeah, I had this all set up last night, and it just all went, it went wrong. It went bad right from the start, man. Some of you, you know, you were here. You remember. It started out okay. And I was up until like 4 a.m. chasing down the bug. And I got it. I killed that bug, man. And it was huge. It was a huge bug. It was a monster bug, you know. It's like here I was at the Howard Dare studio, and this giant fucking bug just comes breaking into the studio, screaming Allah Akbar and causing all kinds of trouble, and it just ruined the podcast. So what I did is I, isolated the bug, I trapped it, and then I proceeded with the podcast, or what I could. I saved it, and it was horrible. I was injured. Yeah, I was injured, and I was under attack. I was under siege. I was pinned, right? And I was looking for support troops. There were no support troops, but I went forward anyway. So it was a really bad podcast, and you should check it out. Okay, but before I get started here, let me say thank you to everybody, for stopping by, for liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. You haven't done it yet, but you will. You will do all those things. You will do those things. So let me just say thank you up front. I really appreciate it, especially as I work through the technical difficulties over here, and this is part of the process. You got to expect this sort of stuff. You can't like start doing something and expect to be good at it, no matter how well you prepare. And you can't like wait until you have everything perfect, because I swear, I thought I had everything perfect, and I was set to go, and we were attacked. And the whole, cyber situation just, was breaking down, and everything, passwords and everything were being stolen, security, everything. Right? And I panicked at first, because I'm alone here at the Howard Dare Studios. I sent everybody home. And I panicked, right? But then I kept it together, and, I got it going. So I appreciate you guys hanging with me through that sort of stuff. I really appreciate it. And I've got some hot coffee here. Now, I would also like to point out that, some of the technical problems here are completely my fault. Apparently, I haven't had enough sugar lately, And if I don't get enough sugar, I just don't have enough energy. So it's part of the price we pay, to do the podcast. And I'm finding this out. So it's not just the technical aspect of it, but it's having a certain amount of energy throughout the whole process. That's why I recommend drugs, stimulants, things like that. The stronger, the better, but of course you're going to have to, start out with perfectly legal, commercial stuff, but you build up a tolerance to it, and you're just slamming down like, instant coffee and eating raw sugar and shit like that just to keep things going. So go ahead and relax, and I'm going to take care of a few things here. And these podcasts at this stage, they're also beta podcasts. We're just testing things out, seeing how things work. Excuse me. Let me see something here. Let me try something here. See how this works. There you go. Yeah. But you see, what I wanted to do is I wanted, to bring it in like that. Right? No, but, and I'm going to get into this soon enough, right? Because this bitch deserves it. We've got to talk about this. And I'll tell you, I've been working a long time to set up just the ability to do a podcast like this. And there's still some shortcomings. That's why I'm checking with you guys in the chat. I'm curious if my sound levels were good relative to the music. You know what I mean? I wasn't just playing the music. I need to figure it out relative to. And I can't monitor the whole thing while it's happening. That was the problem that happened last night. To those of you that were here when I first started out the podcast, it started echoing. It started to do like an audio loop on itself, and it went to infinity. It just kept going and going and going. And at first, it was okay. You could hear it, and then it started to echo. And then it just got worse and worse and worse until finally it was just like a hiss of like angry bees, man, fucking searching for a new hive, right? With a crazy fucking queen getting ready to like attack you and wanting to like build their nest in their hive inside of you. That's what it was sounding like, you know? But to me, I was still like, I gotta put the podcast up there, man. I've gotta put it up on YouTube. So I left it up there for a while, and it was just all this horrible noises, like, right? And I was like, man, why isn't anybody watching this? I tried so hard, but then I just deleted it. You know, it was too painful. I tried to listen, yeah, and yeah. So that's what happened last night. So the bug. You know, so I was searching on YouTube for the solution, right? You know, you just type in your problem and somebody's done a video on it already. So, you know, I'm typing in XSplit infinite audio loop or just audio loop. And I come across a whole bunch of solutions, but they don't really work. I mean, they work in the individual instances for those people, you know what I mean? But they don't work for me. So I just keep trying it and keep trying and keep trying. And finally, I reason it out because, and I'll tell you what it is, because it's really kind of interesting. I was trying to monitor within my default playback device the podcast, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to go in here and check on the podcast to make sure it's doing what I think it's doing. And the problem is that I was also monitoring my media presentation of the podcast through the encoder. And that was coming out in real time, okay? But the minute I said, let me check out the audio that's coming out on the podcast itself, and that went to my default device, well, there was a conflict. You know, there's these two things. And apparently the software, whatever is output to that default device, you know, it kind of like is using it in some strange rebroadcasting way. So there it was. So that was the echo. And yeah. But you got to work through these things. You know what I mean? So that's what we're doing now. We're working through these things. Shit. Mm-hmm. And I'll figure this stuff out. I'm trying some more stuff here. Okay. So I'm going to run, you know, I'm going to run the audio of the Tucker Carlson interview with the crazy Nazi bitch. But let me say a few things about Tucker before I, you know, get started here. Because I like him more without the bow tie. I just feel that, you know, he's a better journalist without the bow tie. I feel like the bow tie was holding him back, you know? But seriously, no, he's older and he's less. I didn't like him before. He was too confrontational. He was, you know, looking for trouble too easily over trivial issues, it seemed. He was just being disagreeable to be disagreeable, it seemed, you know. But now he seems to be a lot more thoughtful and more likable, you know, and just more intelligent. So I don't find him actually abrasive. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, is that before I found him actually dislikable, whereas if now it's like, oh, okay, you know, whatever, he's just a guy doing a job. So, and you know, I like and respect that. Now, let me also say that in doing this sort of stuff, you know, these sort of podcasts and everything like that, I'm taking a lot of heat. You know what I mean? I've been attacked by the Islamist terrorists, by the feminists, cyber attacks. I think it might be China that's coming after me now. And when I fail, you know, like I did with the previous podcast, you know, you want to give up. You want to say, well, screw this. I'll just go back to doing the Google Hangouts. You know what I mean? Because they're easier and safer. But then we don't advance. You know, and I want to grow, and I want to, you know, provide new things, you know, for you guys, you know, because, you know, like your babies or something. Sorry, I just realized, you know, where I was going. No, you're not. You're not supposed to marry a whore. Thanks for stopping by, Lewis. Yeah, that's a great title. That sounds like a title for a Howard Dare MGTOW video, doesn't it? Don't marry a whore. And what happens is the blue pill man meets up with the whore and the slut, and he thinks like, oh, this is great. I've got a gold mine here. I've got a woman who will sleep with anybody. And it's like, yeah, that's right. You've got a woman who will sleep with anybody. And, or at least that's the impression. And then the man has to buy his way into, sexual access with her. And even though he was like thinking from the start, like, oh, she's just some, slut that I don't really care about. After he's bought his way into it a few times, he's like, he's acquired a taste for it. You know what I mean? So then she starts withholding the validation and the sex from him. So now he's like chasing after this ugly bitch. I've done it, like getting together with a fat girl, and then it's like, well, okay, I'm going to try to make this person happy, I guess. And then they just get the wrong idea. They get this idea like they have some position of authority or something like that. And they start acting all bitchy. And the man, all of a sudden, he's like, oh, no, please don't get mad, honey. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? It's like you forget yourself. You betray yourself. And the man does it on the job, too. We do this to ourselves. I'm not saying anyone in particular. And we tell ourselves, okay, well, I'm doing it just to get laid. Okay, I'm doing it just for a paycheck. But after you do it for too long, you lose your self-respect. You lose your self-image. And I believe that, it has this serious physical effect on the man, right? So you got to take this shit seriously. You got to have pride in yourself. You got to look after yourself. Now, you can't always fight back and put people in their place. But you can recognize the person's being a gynocentric bitch who's just going along with the establishment, with a gynocentric system, right? She's trying to shame and manipulate you, right? You don't have to tell her you're MGTOW. You don't have to do anything. You can just like recognize what she's doing and not let it bother you, not let it affect you, because it's not even a personal attack. Any man who looks at the bitch and is like, no, I'm not chasing after you. I don't want to have sex with you. No, I don't care. Right? And if you start to cry, I'll pretend that I'm like upset about, like, oh, what's the matter? It's like, well, I don't really care. So if you'll do that, you can get back a little bit of your male pride, a little bit of your male dignity. And we forget. We wake up every morning and we're like, well, I'm just going to make the best of it. I'm going to treat people fairly with respect and dignity, and they're going to treat me the same. And if they don't, I'm not going to have anything to do with them. But what you forget is, as a man, especially, I'm sorry to say this, as a white man, in a Western civilization who's, trying to follow law and trying to be a reasonable, rational, intelligent person, it's not some, crazy, insane libtard pitching a fit because they want free social programs and shit. So as that man, you are under attack, man. They hate your guts. They're blaming you for everything. So, I'm trying to build this stuff up. I'm trying to do new things to, open up new areas and explore new areas and stuff like that. And I'm taking a lot of shit for it. I'm failing. I'm falling on my face. And I don't have a big support network. To be honest with you, the only thing we have here at the Howard Dare Studios, are like the 3 Asian girls that, have agreed to like, clean the place up and some, do me favors and shit, right? And for that, I let them hang around. And if they, start giving me an attitude, I like throw them out. It's a good deal, right? I can actually teach them how to be a rational, intelligent human being. They can't teach me that. It's an excellent deal. So, go ahead. Well, let's just play this clip. See how it goes. I'll pause it here and here, and try and talk about it.
America has not become a totalitarian death state just yet. Regardless, some are still trying to ignite an uprising to throw him out of power. A group called Refuse Fascism says its goal is to, quote, drive the Trump-Pence regime out. They describe it as illegitimate, a cabal of, quote, white supremacists, women haters, science deniers, religious fundamentalist zealots, and warmongers who will eventually start a nuclear war. We're joined now by Sinsara Taylor. She's an organizer with Refuse Fascism. Sinsara, thanks for joining us.
Okay. First of all, right, I don't know if they mean these things as an insult or as a compliment. And I don't know, white supremacist women haters, things like that. And I don't know if they realize that this is, part of the reason why they lost. Now, check this bitch out, right? Somebody who's calling other people fascists really shouldn't go over that Hitler look, It's like, go ahead and dye your hair blonde or something like that, okay? She does not look like a happy camper right here, She should be like smiling. It's like, thanks for having me on, Tucker. But she's not, man. She's pissed. Okay, so wait a minute. I got to check out and make sure you guys are, the audio levels are good. Problem is when men look at a woman, any woman at all, it's like, well, I guess I'd fuck her. Oh. Okay, audio's good. Thank you, guys. All right, continuing on. And I may run into a little glitch here and there and have to restart the video someplace, but we should be okay.
So I was reading your manifesto tonight, and you said this: the Trump regime is a fascist regime, no insults or exaggeration, that's what it is. For the future of humanity and the planet, we the people...
Okay, it's not a fascist regime, okay? That's a retarded statement. It's a duly elected regime, okay? And then to conflate what they want with the safety of the planet. You know what I mean? This is like, make me a sandwich, bitch, or it's going to be the end of humanity. You don't get to do that. You don't get to say whatever I want is associated with the most important thing in the world. And you'll see people doing this, right? The guy will be like out there on the Senate floor or something like that, and he'll be saying, and this is the most important thing to face Western civilization since the fall of Rome. And only somebody who is, the most loathsome, awful human being that doesn't deserve to live would oppose this. And therefore I say we should put the stop sign up on the end of Johnson Street. And it's like, well, I think you're, overplaying your hand a little bit. So let's continue on with the Nazi bitch. See, she's going for that Hitler look. You can tell. Here we go.
Must drive this regime out. So I'm assuming you're not a moderate necessarily, but the obvious question arises, which is, if it's a fascist regime, how are you on this show?
Look, Donald, we're facing an emergency. Humanity is facing an emergency.
Okay, so right off the start, she just goes off on her, medication-induced rant. She's not even going to respond to the idea that if we're a fascist regime, how is it you have freedom of speech, and how is it you're free to act like such a complete retarded bitch? Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm overdoing this part. Let's let her talk.
A fascist regime has seized the reins of power in the most powerful, actually the sole superpower in the world. Trump and Pence are operating out of Hitler's playbook, only they have nuclear weapons. And what refusefascism.org is saying to the world is that while it's beautiful...
I just wanted to pause on that. That's right, okay? We have nuclear weapons, okay? Women don't build nuclear weapons, all right? Only very certain types of men can build nuclear weapons. And I'm just saying that it's not just, some piece of rhetoric.
It's righteous that millions of people have stood up in protest and continue to do so. And by the way, since I know he sometimes watches, President Trump, if you're watching, way more people have protested than were at your Nazi inauguration. But while this is beautiful, this resistance needs to grow, and people need to...
She's just on a rant, you know what I mean, of characterizing all of this stuff based on her worldview. And you can tell that in her environment that this works. It's like, well, my boyfriend goes for this every time. Okay, continuing on.
Front that this is a fascist regime that could drop the hammer and close down. It's working aggressively to close down the space for people to stand up and resist. And so in the name of humanity, 7 billion on this planet, we need to pour into the streets and say no. We refuse to accept a fascist America. We refuse to accept this for the world, and we must drive them out. We need to stay in the streets.
Okay, the voice of reason, all right? We're gonna interject a little bit and tell this special snowflake that it's not a fascist regime, it's a duly elected, thing. She's being a little unreasonable. She lost. She just kind of needs to grow up a little bit, and things are going to be okay. That's, this is what we do here in America. We there's a transfer of power, and we're okay with it, Everybody always thinks that they're always going to be in power forever, but it just doesn't work that way. So let's see how this works out.
So many questions come to mind, but the obvious one is this. I always thought that the day somebody got up, a Republican, and said, you know what, we got to focus on jobs, no more pointless wars in the Middle East, and by the way, I'm a secular guy, they would say, you know, it's kind of my kind of Republican. You know, I mean,
a man who campaigned and said, I long for the days.
Yeah, Trump has got to be the most reasonable Republican that we've ever seen. You know what I mean? The Republican establishment doesn't really support him. So that should be a really critical sign to you guys, right? It should be a sign to these people. These people should grow to love him. And I think they will. I think that all the passion that they use in this emotional aspect of hate, I think they could just as well move it in the other direction too, you know? And they don't even know why. All right, let's continue on.
When protesters were dragged out on stretchers, who offered to pay the bills of people who assaulted protesters at his rally. Donald Trump is a fascist. That's out of Hitler's playbook. This is a danger to humanity. And yes, it's in its early stages, but people need to rise up and stop it before it is too late.
Okay, so, but I want to get to that. Rise up and stop it. So I'm assuming that, I mean, you're not serious. I mean, this is like play acting for you. If you really thought he was Hitler, if you really believed that he was acting according to, as you said, the playbook of Hitler, then you wouldn't stop with going on a cable show. I mean, you'd go all the way, wouldn't you? I mean, you don't really think that, or you'd be committing acts of violence, right?
Yeah, you know, isn't that the age-old question, right? If you could stop Hitler before he did anything, if you could go back in time and, you know, kill him, the innocent Hitler, would you do it, you know? And would it matter? It probably wouldn't matter. You know, this is someone was going to step into that role. It wasn't, you know, and there were dozens, there were a great many men who were trying to step into that role. So, you know, they bring out this, I've seen this question brought up. Okay, it might not be directly related to this newscast. All right, I hope I'm not overdoing it, but let's continue on.
I absolutely think. Actually, he's not like Hitler. He has a Twitter feed, he has that ugly orange thing on top of his head, and he has nuclear weapons, the biggest nuclear arsenal in the world. And people better wake up, because he is more dangerous than Hitler ever could have been.
But I mean, let's just be real for a second. I know we're on TV, but let's be real. If you really thought that.
Hold on, you implied.
It's her show now, right? Hold on. Let me just explain it to you.
You implied something, and I want to answer it. You implied that I'm going to do something that's untoward, whatever. I'm calling for mass political protest and resistance, building on what's happened and staying in the streets in the name of humanity.
Look, she's actually quite rational there for a moment there, right? Until she goes into her, you know, the humanity cry bullshit. You know, yeah, strong ally. Could be, you know, if she wasn't a crazy Nazi retarded bitch. Okay, continuing on.
Before the man starts, he asked 3 times, if I have nukes, why can't I use them?
No,
this is the mass incineration of human beings on an industrial scale.
I can see you're spun up here.
Humanity.
But let's just be more specific, because I want to take you seriously. I assume you're being serious.
Check out that hair flip. You know what I mean? Look at those locks, right? Something to always be aware of when you meet up with a woman and she's got this really long hair, okay? This woman has not cut her hair since she was, you know, maybe 14 or 15 years old. Or it's a wig, you know, it's her fake hair. So, yeah, I mean, it's like meaningless, right? No, it kind of means something, you know. Probably suggests that from the time she was 14 or 15 years old, she hasn't advanced. Okay, continuing on.
Hard as it is to believe, when you use rhetoric like he's Hitler, he's going to incinerate the world.
No, I said
nuclear
weapons are the mass incineration of human beings on an industrial scale. Sure.
You think he could destroy the world?
Nukes are no big deal for you. I know.
Yeah, now she's mocking the host. Right? Now she's mocking the host. Yeah, this is not going to... Okay, let's just continue on.
You like to carry water for the liar-in-chief. I know you like to justify and rationalize the sexual predator-in-chief, but I don't think this is a joke. This is for humanity, and he is dangerous.
No, she doesn't think this is a joke. This girl's going to get her own show on MSNBC.
But
what are you going to do about it, Sinsara? That's my question. Other than like jump around in the street with a sign in your hand, okay, no, and write your little manifesto.
RefuseFascism.org has a manifesto, as you said. RefuseFascism.org. We say we have 4 things people should do. They should manifest the no. They should protest every outrage and crime. But we have to have a single unifying objective. And the people who are waking up in this country, who are horrified by this man with his finger on the nuclear weapon. We need to recognize that he has to be driven from office through mass political resistance before it is too late. Fascism advances through stages.
The social justice warrior in this one is strong.
Okay,
Shock, awe,
this
violence,
is silly. You
and then
don't
periods of
oppose
normalization.
fascism with political resistance, but whatever, you may not know
Actually,
that.
it would have taken millions and millions to rise up to stop Hitler. It
But what do
absolutely
you-
would have.
but what do you
and it's
You know, whenever she says Hitler, I swear, I just want to paint one of those little mustaches on her, you know? I think that we here at the Howard Dare Studios, with the support that we have received from MGTOW, I think we have the technical wherewithal to get that done at some point in the near future. Now, I don't know if we can make those mustaches move around and track, you know, with the person's movements, but I think for a still frame or two, we should be able to get that for you guys. So, you know, just some of the things we're working on here at the Special Effects Department in the Howard Dare Studios.
what people should have done.
Okay, may I
and
ask
it is
you a real
shameful.
question? I
It is
get
shameful
You're
for you to
morally
dismiss
outraged, but
this.
hold on, I know it's shameful, but let me just ask you this.
It's
No,
funny
this is
to
your
you.
question. So the
No,
62
because I
million
know you love to carry water for this criminal,
Okay,
this
okay.
war criminal wannabe.
I know,
And
okay, right.
He's
But there
itching.
were- but hold
you
on,
find
it's
that
not
as
just-
petty matter?
Where the hell did she get this argumentative style? You know what I mean? Was this something that her father taught her?
There were 62...
Tucker, you find that petty. You find
Look,
that
I'm
a
trying
petty
to ask you a
concern that he
real-
wants to
I know that you're
It
very
is
petty,
real.
but I'm trying to ask
Nuclear
you a real
weapons
question.
are
Don't
as
make me
serious
cut
as
you
you
off.
can
I just
be.
want to ask you... Okay, well, let me ask you one last question, okay? 62 million people voted for Trump.
Right? Now she's bulldogging him on his own show, right? She's mocking him. She's belittling him. He's in disbelief of it. We could analyze this for how to deal with a crazy feminist. You know what I mean? It's like he could have just as well at the very beginning of this whole thing just said, no, we're not doing it. That's it. Cut to a commercial. Or just picked up his next story and started reading that. No, but he wanted to, you know, wanted to give him a chance. And that's what happens with men when they're dealing with crazy feminists, social justice warrior types. Look at her level of familiarity with him, too. It's almost like maybe she's his niece, you know? It's like, why would she be talking that way, you know, with him, unless she was like, knows that it's okay. She's going to call him a bitch before this thing is over. She's called him a water boy 3 times, you know? Bitch is coming next. She's just going to call him a cuck, man. Suggest that, you know, okay, let's see what happens.
And disproportionately, they were people at the lower end of the income scale.
Oh,
they were,
God.
they were actually. They were middle class and below, mostly. Opposed to Trump were, I don't know, the hedge fund managers and privileged people like you. Did you ever think
You
to
know
yourself,
nothing
like, why
about him.
is the
Can I
middle
tell you something?
class...
He
Well,
lost the
you've taken time
popular
off
vote.
to-
He lost the popular
Okay,
vote,
but
and no election,
he did.
fair or
He did.
fraudulent, no election,
But you
fair
still
or
had-
fraudulent, can justify ripping up the
Please-
rule of law,
please answer
undermining
my
the
que-
courts,
What is the
threatening and
rule of
shutting
law?
down
You're
the
saying
press.
that you should throw a duly elected president.
You know, saying all those things and doing all those things are completely different things. You know what I mean? So if I say, you know, that there could be serious consequences if, you know, we don't proceed on this deal in the way that I want to proceed, okay, there's no point in getting upset about that, you know. There's a difference between saying you're going to do something and actually doing something. And anybody with any experience knows that, you know what So, let's continue on. Yeah. She's got a hell of an attitude, a hell of a privileged, entitled attitude, you know what I mean?
Out of office.
No, I'm
So
saying
don't lecture me
people
about
should
the rule
resist.
of
In the
law.
yes, that's what he means when he says so-called judge. That's what he means when he fires an attorney general who disagrees
Look,
with
what I
his
want
laws.
to do, what I want to do is
What you
get
want
to
to
how
do is
you
normalize fascism.
All right.
What you want to do is try to
I'm giving up,
caricature
Senator.
and
I'm
dismiss
giving up.
people
This
who
is
are
too
telling the
obnoxious
truth.
for me. Thanks, though.
Yeah, well, when she's finishing your sentences for you and turning you into Hitler right as you're saying things, it's like, could I get a glass of... And then she's going to finish that sentence and, you know, you're in a lot of trouble. So, yeah, what madness, huh? Right? Could you imagine having a girlfriend like that? Right? And you're just like, look, I just want to go online and watch a couple videos. I just want to watch my Howard Dare videos, please. Right? The bitch is like going into that sort of stuff. Yeah. Amazing. Now, was Tucker out of line by letting her go so far? I don't think so. And I don't think that the libtards and the feminists and the social justice warriors and femtards, I don't think that they, are aware that they're actually their own worst enemy. When they're talking about somebody, and they're comparing him to Hitler, they don't understand that makes them look like they don't have control of their emotions. So consider this like an example of shit not to do. Right? So don't get too upset about all this stuff. Don't take this stuff personally, even though, it attacks the shit out of you and comes after you personally. So that was a lot of fun, actually. I hope I didn't overdo it on the commentary, Oh, yeah, there's that. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So, the attack on Trump from the media, from the left, it's constant. And recognize that this is the same type of attack that's going on men every day. So, when you're going about your day thinking, you're going to treat people fairly and they're going to treat you fairly, it's like, no, you're starting out way behind the eight ball. I was cycling around town today, and when I do that, I sometimes stop off at a fast food place, but I don't know. Doesn't matter. Tasty stuff. It's good to have access to, lots of food, but it's cheap food that's not really good for you. Kind of like a cheap woman, kind of like a whore. So you have to avoid those types of things. Now, do you see what I did right there? Okay, I took completely unrelated, stopping off at fast food places, and I brought it back to MGTOW, right? Yeah, did you notice the political organization on that bitch? I mean, when it was time to promote her cause, man, she toned down, and you could tell that she had that rational agenda in place, and she settled down. And she just, stated, the situation. And that's it. That's what they do for a living. Is they find fault with you, a man, and they, scream that this is the worst thing in the world. You're Hitler. You're Genghis Khan. And they'll do it to an 8-year-old boy that, took the last ice cream. That's it. So it's just this retarded, it's this endless attack on the man, and you're not going to realize that it's going on, and it is going on. And when they deal with you, when you're dealing with people and you're dealing with a woman, they're treating you according to what they're feeling inside. But they're pretending to you that we're all equal. And you as a man of virtue, of honor, with, respectability, wants to treat people with respect and dignity, you're going to go along with it. Not realizing that, no, they're making a fool of you. And I don't want to get you upset or anything like that. I'm just saying that this is part of the psychological thing that we just forget, And it's like, oh, well, you got to, get along with people and stuff like that. And it chips away at the man's self-worth. So you have to be aware of this bullshit. You have to be standing up for yourself and for what's right, and see, you're living in a society that, and I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, but they want to just turn you into a mindless consumer who just, wants to follow his instincts and his desires and then can be manipulated throughout the whole damn thing. And, they're manipulating you based on their whims, on their emotion. This isn't some great conspiracy to extract your resources. This is just how they interact with the world. And if you disagree with them, they'll call you a fascist. They'll call you a racist. They'll start accusing you of crimes. They'll say you tried to rape them. This is how they do it. And, this emotional fit that they pitch, it just gets worse and worse. And people capitulate. They capitulate. They go along. And that's what we as a society have done with these, crazy bitches. And the saving grace on the whole thing is it's like, well, at least we're not going to let her fly the plane. Oh, at least we're not going to let her perform the brain surgery. Oh, at least we're not going to let her operate the nuclear power plant. Oh, at least we're not going to let her, run the tank. It's like, no, they're going to want those roles. And I'll tell you something else. They're not going to quit, They're emboldened. They actually think that it's okay to conflate, to compare the duly elected president that is actually the most qualified person and, has got some really good ideas, even though he's got to clean up a lot of problems. Hitler. They have no problem with that. And a lot of the women that you're going to come in contact with, they have no problem doing that to you. They have no problem saying, sexual assault. They have no problem of accusing you in this same manner. Man, to be a college student in this day and age, what a fucking bummer, man. You're paying good money. You're being demonized for every last thing you do. Right? If you look in the direction of a woman, she's going to accuse you of, like sexual harassment. If you smile, you're in trouble. If you don't smile, it's disgusting. And every other group, and what's in, what you've got going on here is that it's every group against you. So that's the situation. So you have to go your own way. You have to find your own way. You have to go your own way. And if you go along with the group, you have to be doing it for your own good. You have to remember what's going on. You can't forget. Otherwise, you go along with a crazy bitch like this one over here. And, to get sex or whatever, or so that she doesn't go crazy. And it just tears you apart inside. That's what I'm saying. It's a psychological attack. It's a psychological game. If we can fix the man, if you can fix yourself up, in the mind, the body will follow. And if you're thinking, oh, this sucks ass, Howard, I'm not going to do anything, man, because I can't get together with a woman and God betrayed me, so I'm just going to live out my life and do the minimum amount of possible and have a bad attitude. Well, guess what? Okay? That's what they wanted you to do. That was part of their plan. You're not doing that because you've decided to give up. You're doing that because they beat the shit out of you and you don't want to fight no more. And I understand that, but I'm saying it's a psychological attack. And when the man is like, oh, you mean my own instincts have betrayed me? You mean the values that they've demanded that I conform to are the fucking values that make me, into this misogynistic, Islamophobe, sexist, racist, thing that they're going to attack, that they're going to, demonize and take the humanity away from. So that's what, you feel like a chump. You feel like a complete idiot and you're full of rage. There's your red pill rage right there. You've been contributing to your own enslavement. It's like, but you love her. Yeah, sure you do. I wonder what she thinks when she hears that, and you've become soft and fat and weak and you need help, but you're really in favor of being an egalitarian and holding the door open because women are just as good as men because you're not as much as strong as a man should be anymore, right? Go ahead. Take a look at some of these men who, endorse all this bullshit. They don't become strong. Anyway, going off topic. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I got to test out a few things with you guys. I'll be able to come back and check it out and listen to it and see if, the levels were good because I can't monitor my own levels. I need some more equipment over here. I need production staff, things like that. My coffee's gone completely cold, in the meantime. But do check it out. Notice what I did here, okay, is normally there's a whole section of the podcast where I talk about Trump, and a whole section where I talk about the media, and a whole section where I talk about feminist bitches. Notice I combined all of them together, right? Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. A power play, But from a MGTOW point of view, you need to, be aware of this stuff and not let it not let it rip you down, because that's what it's going to do. That's what it's going to do. You're going to go along with the girl because she's hot and you want to get laid. You're going to go along with the boss because you certainly don't, you want to get ahead. You're not going to want to cause waves or cause trouble. So you're going to go along, and you're going along with people who, think that you're responsible for the enslavement of humanity. Just like the way this crazy bitch was responding and overreacting to things. That's what they want to heap upon the men, us, men of Western civilization. That's what the hell is exactly going on. So when you wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, it's a good day. I'm just going to have a good time, treat everybody fairly and smile, and they're going to smile at me. Right? Maybe I'll meet some nice people with similar interests. It's like, yeah, well, that's great. That's pretty much how I feel when I wake up, but I don't think that's how they feel. I think when they wake up, they're like, that son of a bitch, he's going to destroy the world because he has, because he's president, and that man thinks that he's a big shot because he can walk upright and he's not looking over his shoulder all the time, and he doesn't stutter when he gets around the women, and he doesn't try to look at their boobs and shit. I'm going to accuse him of something. So they're walking around in this state of endless resentment and envy, okay, and desire. So if you're walking around thinking, I want this, I want that, I'll kick ass here, I'll kick ass there, again, that may not be you who's decided to walk around like that, because that's exactly what the advertisers want you to be like, It's like, I'll sleep with her, I like that car, I want to buy that, I need some of those. What a horrible way. You're going to walk around your whole life always looking at stuff that you don't have and always being like, oh, I'd be happy if I had that. What have I got to do? Like a dog begging for things. It's not the way you're supposed to go through life. But that's the way that the system, the advertisement, that's what, mainstream media, that's what they want for you. But they're not going to admit it. That's the game. That's the trick. So that's what I want you guys to be aware of. That's why I think this stuff is important to MGTOW, because I think if you're not aware of it and you go along with it, I think it'll rip you to pieces, right? It'll be like betraying yourself. So that's why I think it's an important issue related to MGTOW, because I think that's where the attack is. And that's what you need to go your own way from, right? Exactly. And then you have to find your own way. It's not just go your own way. Then you have to find your own way. And that's a whole set of, challenges in and of itself. Oh, so do me a favor, people. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Hit the like thing on this video, right? I need your support, right? I'm getting killed out here, right? Nobody's got my back. I'm getting attacked by, Allah Akbars and feminists and Islamists, and it's bullshit, right? And I'm falling, I'm making mistakes and shit. I have to delete videos. Yeah. Somebody actually, I'm losing subscribers, right? Because these videos are too long. Right? Too many advertisements in there. I don't put the ads in there. YouTube does. Right? As opposed to he wants me to put out the podcasts and not even let any advertising go up on it. Right? Because, God damn it, that's the entertainment that he wants. And he is like a king. He's like an entitled princess bitch. Nothing happens for free. Nothing. Everything that happens somewhere, somebody is, paid the bill. And it's usually going to be men. And if you're thinking you're getting something for free, no, just wait, man. Down the road, no. No, some of the resources you need, they just won't be there. That's how it works. That's how they're doing it. And they're doing it because you're a bad man. You're an evil man. And you're not. You're just a guy who wants to get ahead and, have sex with the right woman, right? But no, according to them, no, you're just this horrible rapist and this, terrible consumer, right? The scourge of the earth. That's how they're playing it, right? And the man wants to, you want to get dejected and walk away. You don't even know where you're getting hit. So you just want to get out of the game. Then you kind of realize where you were hit. And then you just want to retire, feel sorry, but you can't even do that. So go ahead, give me the like, share, comment, subscribe, donate. Join me again, Howard Dare, for another podcast. Told you, you're just going to have to do it. All right, people. So thanks for stopping by, and I'm going to end this one.